Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Friday night, March 25th edition of StudentLoanJustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. I'm the founder of Student Loan Justice. We are the oldest, largest, and in many ways the only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. For the first 15 years of our existence, that meant very moderately fighting for the return of standard bankruptcy protections to both federal and private student loans. We're still fighting for that. In fact, the return of bankruptcy still lies and does lie at the core of this problem. But ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that the federal student loan program is now catastrophically failed. It's failed like no other lending system we've ever seen in U.S. history. Before the pandemic, 80% of all borrowers were never going to be able to repay their loans. Before the pandemic, 64.3% of all federal student loan borrowers were not making payments on their loans. That was before the pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. The lending system's toast. It's finished. It's done. And the people who are fighting to keeping it going are fighting an uphill battle because it's just not going to happen. So we're glad that you found us. Please spread the word about this group, about our petition at change.org calling on the president to cancel student loans by executive order, not up to $10,000, not up to $50,000, cancel all of them. This lending system needs to be wiped away, taken to the bath, and drowned in the tub. So, hey, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. If I can see them, if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, Facebook or on Twitter, then I should be able to see your comments. So go ahead and leave them, and I will respond to them if I can see them. A lot is going on right now, ladies and gentlemen. Very glad to report that we went on a particularly vicious right-wing news program a couple days ago. It was called News Nation with Leland Vittert. And you can see the clip for yourself. It was pretty combative, and we love that. We love going into the lion's den. We are a fiercely nonpartisan group. Nonpartisan. If you're a Republican, we're very glad you're here. If you're a Democrat, we're very glad that you're in our group. We're fighting for the same thing. I would ask that you put all of your other issues, guns and gods and gays and all those issues, put them off to the side, because this issue, student loan justice, unites us. It's our greatest strength. Our political diversity is our greatest strength. And we have opposition coming from both sides right now. As I mentioned, this News Nation interview we did last Wednesday was particularly hard fought. I think I represented pretty well, guys. Watch the piece for yourself. You know, we've been sharpening this sword for many years now, and we can answer all of the tough questions. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments, as I said, throw them out, and I'm happy to respond to them. I'm going to try and keep it rather short tonight. But by all means, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out, and I will respond to them. So yeah, the thing at News Nation went well. I would hope that everybody would spread that. I think we held our own and then some. I would hope that everybody would spread that interview far and wide, particularly among conservative audiences. You know, as I said, we're a nonpartisan group, but I have to be honest, and I have to say that over the years, the Republicans have tended to oppose us for some strange reason. The Democrats have tended to be on our side, but ladies and gentlemen, this whole partisan divide, both sides are against us. At least the establishment wings of both parties are against us, it seems like. And, you know, we're thrilled that people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Ilhan Omar and the Squad and Chuck Schumer and other Democrats have adopted our call that we started in March 2020 for the cancellation of student loans by executive order. But, you know, at the same time, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, for example, they put this up to $50,000 modifier on the cancellation proposal that now apparently has found its way into the zeitgeist. And this issue has been bounded by this fake, artificial, arbitrary upper limit of $50,000. And ladies and gentlemen, up to $50,000 could mean anything. And if the people in Washington, D.C. have their way, it will mean almost nothing, or maybe even nothing for many. It will mean almost nothing for everybody. So we're not super thrilled. We're not super pleased with Elizabeth Warren and others who have very cleverly managed to try to put an upper bound on this loan cancellation. Guys, the lending system is completely and utterly failed. 80% of all borrowers were never going to be able to pay their loans, even before the pandemic. It's time to wipe this lending system away and start again. What the next higher education financing system looks like, I don't know. That's a good question, interesting question, but it's not the problem which stares us in the face right now. And that is that probably 40 of the 45 million student loan borrowers in the country will never be able to repay their loans. They will just not. The best thing to do for all involved, including the taxpayer, by the way, is to simply cancel all of these loans and come up with a much cheaper, more fair, lower priced way to fund the colleges in this country. But again, that second thing is the second thing. Right now, the one thing we're fighting for, well, the two things is what I just said: the return of bankruptcy, and the cancellation of all federally owned student loans. I say return of bankruptcy first because bankruptcy must happen in order for meaningful loan cancellation to happen. This is kind of a wrinkle. It's maybe a little bit subtle. People don't really understand that point, but it's true. Because in the absence of bankruptcy protections, we are not going to see meaningful, widespread, maybe even total loan cancellation from the president. We're not going to. This up to $50,000 is about the most we can expect. And as I said, there is a world of hurt hidden between those two words, up and to. And every lawyer knows exactly what I'm talking about. Biden may call a press conference tomorrow and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've thought it over, and I'm going to do everything that the liberal wing of the Democratic Party is demanding that I do. I'm going to now cancel up to $50,000 by executive order. And you know what that'll mean at the end of the day? It'll mean you get $3,000, you get $8,000, you get nothing because you're in default or something, or you get nothing because you earned too much. You get nothing because you didn't fill out your form right. This is how the Department of Education rolls, ladies and gentlemen. It's a game. They love not canceling loans, as 99% of the people who have tried for any number of income-driven repayment plans since the 90s who've been disqualified out of those programs for stupid reasons can attest. So we're not buying that, ladies and gentlemen. We are not going to be tricked by that again. In the absence of bankruptcy protections, that's what's going to happen. We've got to have the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, as the founders called for ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army in the Constitution. Like, that's true. Read the Constitution and you'll see in Article 1, Section 8, a whole bunch of powers given to Congress. The power to declare war, the power to coin currency, the power to build a navy and raise an army. Above all those powers I just mentioned is the call for uniform bankruptcy laws. So true is it today. In the absence of bankruptcy, we're not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation. Only with the threat of bankruptcy back on our side can we expect to see meaningful, widespread, maybe even total loan cancellation. So there's a bill, S-2598. And if I seem a little nonplussed, it's because I've been saying the same thing, like the same 5 things every night for the past, feels like a year, probably 6 months, but it's so important. There's a bill in the Senate, S-2598. It will return bankruptcy protections to federal student loans. There's a 10-year waiting period, so it's not great. But it's certainly not bad. It is an actual step in the right direction. And ladies and gentlemen, after doing this for 17 years now, I can tell you, we've seen all the tricks. And this bill, as it is written right now, is not a trick. It is for real. And I think it's a must-pass bill if we're going to see actual student loan cancellation. And there's another thing about bankruptcy that you need to be aware of. Supposedly they're going to turn this lending program back on May 1st. The collection industry, they are drooling at the prospect of a mass default, which absolutely is going to happen, by the way. We are going to see a mass default when and if they turn this lending system back on. Would you rather face that reality naked and afraid and vulnerable and with your sort of ass hanging out for the collection industry to come and take? Or would you rather face that reality with at least the toothpick of power that standard constitutional bankruptcy protections provide? Hopefully it's that second thing, right? I mean, obviously. Hey, we've got a couple comments here. Pepper Bryant, how you doing tonight, Pepper? Pepper says, I'm not opposed to paying back a realistic amount for my daughter's education and make payments manageable, but they have no reason to try and work with us unless bankruptcy protection is restored. You just hit the nail on the head, Pepper. That's exactly right. And I think most people feel like you do. That's kind of how I felt when I first started Student Loan Justice. At this point, I've spent so many years of my life, I don't know that I'm willing to pay back a dime ever on these loans. I mean, truly, in my humble opinion, nobody should ever make another payment on their federal loans. It's just too far gone. It does nobody any good to feed this beast, particularly if you were never going to be able to pay off your loans in the first place, which is true for 80% of all borrowers, my best estimate. Hey, Leslie Fishman, how you doing, Leslie? Leslie says, let's go, people. Fight for your future and your children's future. This has caused enough anguish in achieving the American dream. Yeah, come on, guys. Lending systems fail from time to time. They just do. Look at the subprime home mortgage thing. Look at the SNL scandal of the mid-'80s. Look at pretty much most of Europe in 1945. Like, lending systems in whole financial systems, Puerto Rico or Argentina, whatever, whole lending systems fail catastrophically sometimes. And fortunately or unfortunately, that is the reality for the federal student loan program. There is no saving it. It's too late. If they would have returned bankruptcy protections 10 or 15 years ago when we first started calling for it, yeah, I mean, it probably would have stabilized. And today, colleges wouldn't be charging as much as they are for college. Debt levels would be a fraction of what they are today. That's kind of the whole point of having bankruptcy. But guys, we're so far past that point. Another fact that I put out there almost every night, I've said it so many times, the default rate for 2004 students is 40%. 40%. That's 2 in 5. The default rate for subprime home mortgages was 20%, half of that. And people who left school in 2004 were only borrowing not even a third of what's being borrowed today. So by all rational metrics and measures, this lending system is failed like none other that we've ever seen in this country. And look, we're in a pandemic still, like technically, right? We just got through throwing trillions upon trillions of dollars out into the country, much of it in the form of loans that don't need to be repaid. All of that pandemic stimulus added to the national debt required money to be drawn from the Treasury. Federal student loans, federally owned student loans, which is not 90% of all student loan debt, they can be canceled without needing one dime from the Treasury and without adding one penny to the national debt. Quite frankly, President Trump should have canceled these loans at the onset of COVID. It was the biggest mistake in his presidency that he didn't. He probably would have won. In fact, he certainly would have won the last election had he done that. He didn't. He's an idiot. And, another thing, people have had time to reflect on life, the meaning of life, and all those great things during the 2 years of this pandemic. People have not been paying on their student loans. Even before the pandemic, as I said, 64.3% of everyone was not paying. Here now, during the pandemic, almost nobody is paying. And I would be stunned if even 20% of the borrowers resume paying when they turn the lending program back on. It's a failed lending system, guys. It's failed. And we are the unfortunate firsthand witnesses of the collapse. It is vanishing into a mist of illegitimacy. And again, in my humble opinion, it is both unwise and unpatriotic at this point to feed another dollar into this dying, gasping beast. Doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do the 45 million other borrowers in the country any good to give this beast any energy. Don't feed it. That's my personal opinion. Hey, Leslie says also, I really can't believe how this has ballooned into a catastrophic nightmare. Neither can I, Leslie. These are student effing loans we're talking about. These are not nuclear launch codes. This is not a civil war. This is not, this shouldn't be a big thing. This is a government lending program that was weaponized against the citizens, and it was allowed to spiral out of control. Like, there's a ton of different government lending programs out there. This is just one of many. It's done. It's toast. I can't speak for the other federal agencies. I'm sure the Department of Defense, I'm sure, and whatever loans they do, and they do loans, probably. The Department of Transportation, I know they do loans because I used to work as a regional manager of a loan program through the Department of Transportation. Department of Veterans Affairs, whatever loans they do. I'm sure they all do a great, swell job. And all those other government loans, by the way, have bankruptcy protections. So all the other federal agencies I'm not speaking to. What I am speaking to is the Department of Education's Office of Federal Student Aid. It is a captured and corrupted agency. They are not working for the people. In fact, they jettisoned all pretense of fighting for the public good decades ago. They're not good people, and they've been fighting behind the scenes for tooth and nail, very hard to keep bankruptcy gone from the loans. I know nobody wants to file for bankruptcy out there. I know what a lot of you people are thinking. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. And really, it's a cruel and vicious irony that we have to fight for something as unpleasant and shameful as bankruptcy is. But ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy is not what is important. Getting the leverage that bankruptcy provides us means everything. It means the difference between getting actual meaningful student loan cancellation and getting nothing. It means the difference between all this alphabet soup of loan cancellation programs, public service loan forgiveness, income-based repayment, whether those are going to work or not. We're on a very good path, ladies and gentlemen. S-2598 is got bipartisan support in the Senate. The bill could be passed into law in the next week, theoretically. I could see the bill passing before May 1st, quite frankly. Senator Durbin is the sponsor of the bill. He's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and he's a very serious guy, pretty low-key guy. It's not like he's not like Lindsey Graham or somebody who you see on TV all the time, but he's a very serious guy, and he's committed to fighting for this bill. But he needs our help because this stuff does not happen in a vacuum. The people have got to fight for it. And I know it's unpleasant to fight for bankruptcy. Believe me, I've been doing it for 17 years now. But it is the battle that matters. It is absolutely the battle that matters. As I said, we've seen all manner of fake student loan cancellation gimmicks come and go over the years. And the one thing they all have in common is that over 99% of the people trying for them did not get the promised forgiveness. I don't even call it forgiveness. I call it cancellation. We can't do that again, guys. I'm in the immortal words of who's the actor that did the Bro films? I'm getting too old for this shit. You know what I'm talking about. That cop movie trilogy or something. Anyways, yeah, guys, we've been tricked enough times. We've learned all the tricks and traps that people on both sides of the aisle, not just Republicans, but quite frankly, establishment Democrats, they're fighting for this lending system as well. And we've seen all the tricks and traps, and we won't be fooled again. It is time. It is the appropriate time for this lending system to be put out of its misery. And I said that the other night on that News Nation show I was telling you about. Check it out. We need your help. This stuff does not happen in a vacuum. I can fight all day long, 24 hours a day, and it feels like I do that sometimes. And I alone am never going to solve this problem. It takes a village. As corny as that may sound, it's true. It takes a lot more than a village. The good news is we've got a freaking army. An army. 45 million people is bigger than all the standing armies in the world combined right now today. If we were a nation, I think we'd be like around the 20-something largest nation on the planet if we were our own country. Like, that's a lot of people. And, even as a more tangible touch point, this group actually have over 1 million people on our various platforms, on our petition, on our Facebook group, on our email, on our Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. That's a huge muscle to flex. You guys have no idea. If everybody in this group was spending 5 minutes a day doing our daily actions, so if you go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and you look at, and you go to our daily actions, you'll see almost every day, usually 4 or 5 times a week, we will have a very simple action to do. It's like Twitter stuff by and large. It's like it takes usually 20 seconds to do, maybe a minute. Sometimes, like this week, we're doing phone calls to senators. So maybe it takes a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the most. If everybody on our group was to actually do those daily actions, this problem would be solved months ago. If everybody started doing them tomorrow, this problem would be solved inside of a month and a half, I think. So think about that. We've got a huge muscle to flex, but that only matters when everybody out there does it. Many hands make heavy work light, as they say, and that is very true. Don't think that you can sit back. I know a lot of people like to hide in a crowd. I get that. I see you out there. They think they can wait and watch and worry and kind of cheerlead, and somebody else is going to pull their weight for them. That's not the reality, guys. We've been doing this 17 years now, and I can tell you that when you sit there and you eat popcorn and you wait and you watch and you worry, nothing gets done. And quite frankly, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, because you sitting there being distracted, doing nothing, waiting, watching, worrying, that's exactly what our opposition wants you to do. Like the snakes, the shark swamp creatures at Forbes magazine. They put this never-ending stream of just diarrhea out into the zeitgeist. And these guys will lose their jobs when they cancel these loans. They do not want these loans canceled. They have no clue what's going to happen, by the way. They have no clue. They ought to be ashamed of themselves for trying to pretend that they do. They don't. I've seen their skewed, slanted, biased reporting. I don't even read Forbes magazine anymore unless they're claiming to break some actual news, and they do, but usually they're not. Usually they're just dredging up old recycled nonsense, and they're telling you what they want to happen. Don't be a fool. Don't fall for their trick. Don't allow yourself to be discouraged and demotivated. Don't allow yourself to be lulled into a false sense of complacency. Like, oh, well, the Forbes guy says everything is going to be fine. So la, 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 I'm just going to skip past the graveyard here and forget about my student loans and my responsibility to fight. Don't do that. It's bad. It's dangerous. It doesn't help you. Doesn't help the 45 million other people in the country with student loans. Doesn't help the tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps. Don't fall for that psychological trick. That's what our opposition wants. They're bad people. So anyways, guys, we're in a good spot. Our bill is doing well. What we do to convince Republican senators right now to at least not oppose the bill, and at the most co-sponsor the bill. So go for the most. What we do between now and the next 3 weeks to get support from your Republican senators, and if you don't have any Republican senators in your state, then the Republican senators closest to your state. We've got to be pushing Republican senators. And again, if you go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, and you look at our daily actions, you will see that for the past probably 4 months, 80% of our daily actions are geared towards Republican senators. So fucking important. You have no idea. Pardon my French. So, our daily actions are a good place to start, but don't be bounded by them. What you do matters, and clever ideas, smart, intelligent strategies that you may come up with. We're smart people on this group, guys. We've at least been to college. I know there are some very capable, very smart people who can think for themselves, people in our group. And you know better than I how to, maybe a secret way to get into some sort of to make a point with your Republican senators. Like, you can think of far more creative and effective ways to do that than our daily actions, I suspect. Make that happen. Because remember, guys, I'm going to say it one more time. We are not going to see any sort of meaningful relief from these loans unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy returned. Few people should have to file. In fact, I truly hope that nobody will have to file. Just getting the threat of bankruptcy back alone is going to be enough to change the whole game. Like, when we get bankruptcy rights back, they're pretty much going to have to cancel student loans very widely, very broadly, maybe even totally. Because as it stands now, guys, we're not going to get squat. Even if Elizabeth Warren's proposal is adopted, that's going to come to almost nothing for almost everybody. And we can't afford that. So, yeah, guys, we're in a good spot. What we do right now, our bill is in committee. It's being marked up. Like right now, maybe not right now, but like as we speak, this week, next week, week after that, the next 3 weeks, maybe a month, are when all the critical conversations are going to happen, which decide the fate of this bill. So if you were ever going to get off your ass and help us, and I know Leslie's doing it, I know the other people I've seen in the comments are doing it. If you're not doing it, you need to get with it, because, as I said, these are your loans. This is your problem. And unless and until here's a comment from Ariane. Ariane, folks, I've seen you out there, Ariane. I appreciate it. Ariane says, I do fight, trying to get my more fully employed friends to do more. Retweets are easy. They could at least do that. I could not agree more, Ariane. How do I get busy people to join in? Because I know it's numbers. My senators are establishment Democrats that support the fake solution. Told me to be happy with public service loan forgiveness. Right. That's what you're going to hear from the establishment Democrats, Ariane. It's like I said, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. We kind of like the Democrats a little better than the Republicans or whatever, but the establishment wings of both parties are against us, and they want nothing more than for us to go away. And sorry, guys, we're not going away. This problem is not going away until we make it go away. So I appreciate your help, Ariane, and hopefully you can get your more fully employed friends to help out. Anybody with student loans should be helping us, regardless of your situation. In fact, anybody who cares about this country should be helping us. I mean, this is going to sound really corny and way over dramatic, but guys, if they can do to other loans what they've done to student loans, this is the camel's nose under the tent. I'm hearing murmurs in Washington, D.C. about people who want to do what they did to student loans to medical debt. And there's literally there's no boundary on how far they could take that. They could put this artificial barrier to bankruptcy up against every loan in this country if they wanted to. If we let this dangerous precedent that they did to student loans win the day. There are some bad people out there, and they would have no compunction whatsoever about turning this country into an indebted slave state. Who was it? John Adams once said, there are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, the other is by debt. And as unlikely as it may sound, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking down the barrel of that gun. I know it sounds profound. It is profound. But guys, I'm telling you, this is the camel's nose under the tent. We cannot let this injustice stand. For whatever reasons that you fight, whether you're fighting for yourself or whether you're fighting for the 45 million people in the country who don't know about us, hopefully you'll tell them about us. Word of mouth is the only way we're going to grow. Or whether you're fighting for the tens or hundreds of people who maybe haven't even been born yet and don't deserve to be subjugated like they are trying to subjugate us. You've got to fight. You've got to. So I hope what I've said tonight has made a little bit of a difference. I hope it's opened your eyes. I hope you realize that this group, believe it or not, we don't look like much. I know. I'm sorry, we don't. We are a fiercely nonpartisan, truly grassroots group. We don't have any kind of a budget. We don't have a marketing department. We don't have secret handshake deals with media companies. We don't have any of that stuff. What we do have is right now over 1 million people, hopefully soon several million people or more, who are doing the small amount of efforts necessary so that we can all be rowing in the same direction. We can move mountains, ladies and gentlemen. We are stronger than the people who would oppress us, the lending people and the establishment people and that whole crowd. We are more powerful than them by probably 10,000 or 100,000 times. But that's only meaningful when everybody out there, including you, whoever you may be, help us fight. So please take that to heart. I hope that those of you who have been following us for any length of time are impressed with what we've been able to get done. 2 years ago, we were basically floundering, bouncing all over the state of Iowa, following presidential hopefuls around from county to county. And we didn't have much to fight for right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, everything's changed. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel for the first time in 17 years. What you do in the next month could well tell the tale. It only takes one person to have that perfect conversation, that well-timed email, that well-placed conversation to get a Republican senator to co-sponsor our bill. Even one more Republican co-sponsor could start a groundswell. It could be the domino that causes the cascade that literally solves this whole entire problem for us. I kid you not. It could be you. So another bad reference, in the immortal words of fictional character John Connors, I've tried this one out a few times, from Terminator fame, Terminator Salvation, etc. You have no idea how important you are. That's so true. So I hope you're enthused, but more than anything, I hope you're encouraged. I hope you're going to throw off the shackles, the shame, the laziness, the inertia, and you're going to own this problem and help us fight. It feels very good to fight, by the way. It's cathartic. I would much rather be fighting than walking around with my tail in between my legs, waiting and watching and worrying. It feels good to take the bull by the horns. This is a fight where the founding fathers are on our side. The Constitution is on our side. 50 million plus people are strongly on our side, whether they know about us or not. And probably hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps are on our side, whether they're even born yet or not. So this is the good fight in every way. We can only win when we fight, but we have to fight. So fight, fight, fight. And with that, I think I'm going to wish you all a good weekend. I will paste the link to the interview we did on Wednesday below in the comments. Spread that around. Word of mouth is everything for us. It's everything. You've got to be an advocate for us. Spread that story around. Spread our petition around, change.org/cancel student loans. Think of something that I haven't said. Think of something creative and clever. We need you fighting with 100% of your brain on our side. And that's what's going to win it for us. So I will be back on Monday. Or no, sorry, I'll be back on Sunday. I may even be back tomorrow if something really big happens, and things are happening quickly right now, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see. But in the meantime, good luck. Do all that stuff I said, please. Seriously, do it. Godspeed. And God bless everybody.